I finished my shoulder seams, and now I'm ready to do the arms, the sleeves. I'm ready to hook those onto the body. So what I did first is I laid out my body that I've already seamed together. Oh, and before we forget, I'm making this cardigan, the Bernat On the Lace Cardigan. It's a crocheted cardigan, and I'm using Bernat satin sparkle yarn in the color Twilight, which is black. And it was kind of hard to see my stitches as I was working, but it's done now and it's beautiful. So before I start seaming my sleeve, I need to get it placed. And seaming a sleeve is one of the hardest parts of seaming a garment together because it's really easy to do it wrong. So what they've told us to do is to sew in the sleeves, placing the rows above the markers. And hopefully you remembered to leave markers in. There's where your markers are. Make sure that you follow the directions all through the pattern. If you don't know, if you didn't place markers like this, go back and read when you were making the sleeves, read the instructions for the sleeves, and find out where those markers should be. And just count up until you get to the spot and place your markers. And that way it'll be much easier for placing your markers, to place your sleeves for the seam. So I found so that they're both right sides here. I want to find my right side so that they're right. And I can get one of my little claw things and stick it on there to mark that's the right side. So I'm going to set that aside now. And here is my seaming that I've already done. I did my shoulder seam. So what you want to do is to line it up so that that seam is laying just right, exactly even. Don't let it be off a little bit like this, then you'd be all messed up. Make sure right up here at the top is exactly at the top, and make sure the bottom is exactly at the bottom, and lay it down on the table. And then here is where you have to attach your sleeve. So get your sleeve again, and you lay it down right here. And you know that when you wear this garment, your sleeve is going to be out like that, right? So all you have to do is, when you're pinning this together, make sure your marker is right at the edge where the bottom of the sleeve is, and make sure that is right up at the top. So that's the first place we're going to mark. And I can take this off now since I know I'm on the outside. And remember that the right sides are out. So your right side is here, your right side is here, your wrong side is inside, and your wrong side is inside there. So we're on the outside of the sweater hooking this together. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do this bottom part first because I know that marker is right. And I'm going to hook it on right here. So I can just use that marker to hook that on. I'm going to hook that on right at the bottom, right there. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing at the back. I'll get this marker, and I'm going to hook it on in that same spot. There. Now the bottom of my sleeve is hooked on the way I want it to be. And I'm going to be seaming after a while. Right now all I'm doing is marking everything in place. And now make sure this is folded exactly right. Make sure the top is like you want it to be. Make sure this is all nice and even. Make sure it's perfect. And then find the very center. And if you look at this, you're going to have, you can count the shells if you want. You can go through and you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half there. And I've got a half here. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 shells, and then right in between those 3 shells, right along that little, see that little seam right through there? That is the part, that line is what you want to hook right onto where the middle of your seam up here is. So hook that together with your little claw. There. Then the rest of this stuff, all you have to do is just wiggle it in there. So you see you've got a corner here. And you see how that's going to line up? And then this will line up down here. So even though your body has this straight thing and your sleeve has an angle, you can still make it work. So just pull this out like this. And see, it's going to line up just like that. So first I'm going to make sure I'm happy with how all of this is going to line up. And that's going to line up through there. And that's going to line up through there. So I'm going to put my little claw here. And then I'm going to find how that lays out. I'll put another little claw right here. And then I'll put another little claw right here. Just like that. And another little claw right there. And you can keep putting more claws on until you feel like it's being held together really well. I need some more claws. I found this cute little jar. Isn't it cute? It's just right for holding my claws. And I like it because it reminds me of me and my sister back when we were young and we used to do needlepoint all the time. We never did quilting like these girls do, but I still think it's a nice little container. It's just right for my claws. They fit just right in there. So some people like using seaming pins, but I like using seaming claws. And I did not come up with that on my own. There's a lady on the Knitting Help Forum that does this. And I thought, what a great idea. I'm going to use that. It's always nice to be on forums where you can learn things from each other. And that's what we do every day on the Bernat Forum. We learn things from each other there. Having fun. Oh. I love those little claws. They work just right. It's always neat when you can find a new use for something. Isn't it? I'll make sure I did this right because I don't want it to be off. There. That's looking good. The very last little claw here. Just like that.